Honorable John Jinapor.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, let me thank you for the opportunity. Sure. Mr. Speaker, I heard my senior colleague say I shouldn't be diabolic. So I'll start on a good note, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to associate myself with the statement by the Speaker of Parliament in respect of the way Parliament is being treated by the executive. Mr. Speaker, this is akin to two people, and like Honorable Bagman said, he and President Akufo-Addo work together. Now there is some contemporary stew with some ampesi and a bit of palm oil on it. And what President Akufo-Addo is doing, under the guise of taking a bit of the stew, has created a canal towards his side, so that all the palm oil will gravitate towards his side. Mr. Speaker, it's on that note that we want to serve notice that won't be part of this today, won't be part of this tomorrow. Mr. Speaker, on a more substantive issue, Mr. Speaker, economic management is not just about growing GDP. And so I think that even as a parliament, we must begin to look at other ways of measuring progress in terms of the welfare of the people. You can grow your economy, your GDP can grow, and yet it will be a jobless GDP growth. Mr. Speaker, if you borrow or take money and all you do is to spend on recurrent expenditure to the detriment of capital expenditure, you might initially see some growth because of the expenditure approach, but eventually your GDP cannot generate the needed revenue for you like we are witnessing today. There's been an attempt to blame the current hardship, the current quagmire, and the current difficulty that we find ourselves on COVID. Mr. Speaker, I therefore want to deal with pre-COVID, that is between 2017 and 2019. Mr. Speaker, in 2016, our total tax revenue was 25.7 billion. Out of that amount, our debt servicing was 9 billion. What it meant is that we needed 35% of our tax revenue, and that is your first line item as an economist, to pay for that debt. Mr. Speaker, 2019, the year that they claimed they did well, our tax revenue was 42 billion. Our interest payment ballooned to 20 billion. It means that if you get your tax revenue from 38%, we have moved to 48%. I'm not talking nominal figures. I'm talking percentages. Mr. Speaker, if you took compensation and debt servicing, in 2016, our tax revenue could pay the two items, and we'll still be left with money, because compensation was 14 billion. If you add it to the 19, that makes it 23 billion. So out of 25 billion, 0.7, we still had about 4 billion extra. By the end 2019, compensation and interest payments amounted to 43 billion. So if you took 42 billion, you simply couldn't pay for compensation and interest payment at the same time. So this issue of COVID is neither here nor there. What COVID has only done is to confirm the poor state of the Ghanaian economy, which was hidden in terms of figures. Because if your debt to GDP is growing at a slow pace, and your GDP is growing at a higher pace, and if your deficit, which then becomes the loans and the debt, because once you have a funding gap, which is your deficit, you need to borrow to fill that deficit. It's also low, at around less than 5%. How come today we have a debt to GDP of above 76%? It tells you that you are cooking figures. It's basic economics. Because if your deficits are low, your debt accumulation is low, your GDP growth rate is high, then your debt as a percentage of the GDP, which is the base, must be low. What we are seeing defies logic, it defies economics, and it cannot stand the test of time, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, but even within this, let's look at the two administrations. Mr. Speaker, from 2016, our total revenue was 109 billion. By 2020, the total billion was around 200 billion for President Akufo-Addo. Excellent revenues alone, President Mahama got 3 billion. President Akufo-Addo got about 12 billion. Mr. Speaker, petroleum revenues, since we started accumulating petroleum revenues, from President Mills, President Mahama, President Akufo-Addo. President Akufo-Addo alone accounts for about 67% of the total petroleum revenues that this country has gotten. Mr. Speaker, as if that is not enough, if you take Eurobond, which is a sovereign bond, President Mahama, President Mills, President Kufuor, they borrowed 4.5 billion. If you look at what President Akufo-Addo alone is borrowing in terms of Eurobond, dollars, $13 billion. 3 presidents borrowed 4.5 billion. One alone, just one person, he is borrowing 13 billion cedis or dollars. Mr. Speaker, in the budget, even in the budget, in 2016, there was zero financing from the Bank of Ghana. Zero financing. And yet in this parliament, when the minister came here, we approved 10 billion cedis to be advanced from the Bank of Ghana. If you check the budget appendix, the Bank of Ghana has released 22 billion cedis to President Akufo-Addo. More than 100% of what this house approved. But let me serve notice to the governor of the Bank of Ghana, whether he likes it or not. We shall haul him here and ensure that he is held liable for this infraction, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Ghana is not an island, and I'm dealing with the COVID. Other countries equally faced COVID. Cote d'Ivoire is our neighbor, and those who compare ourselves to Nigeria, you are making a huge mistake. You must compare two economies with the same structure, and Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana have the same structure. In 2020, Cote d'Ivoire ran a deficit of 5.7%. Ghana, you are running a deficit of 13.8%. And you want us to clap for you? You want us to clap for you for your own failures, for your own incompetence, for your own lackluster performance? Mr. Speaker, this performance is an abysmal performance that no one can be proud of, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's also important to look at where the monies went to. Because when you get revenues, you spend those monies. And in every family, when you have difficult moments, what you do is to prioritize your expenditure. Mr. Speaker, 2013 to 2015, first 3 years of President Mahama, he spent 17 billion on capital expenditure. And in every economic lesson that you learn, as part of every growth model, gross capital formation is a major issue that you ought to tackle. If you don't build your capacity in terms of the infrastructure base, you are going to have a major challenge going forward. President Akufo-Addo, in his first 3 years, spent 30% less on capital expenditure. Indeed, when we passed the Energy Sector Levies Fund, the act, it was resisted. The road fund in 2016 accumulated 1 billion. We released all those monies to the Ministry of Roads. Under President Akufo-Addo, over the past 3 years, 2 billion cedis of the road fund has been withheld by the Ministry of Finance. No wonder, Mr. Speaker, our roads are in such a bad and poor state. And I refer to the Energy Sector Levies Act of 2017, 2018, and 2019. I refer to the Energy Sector Levies Act account presented to this House. It's a public document here. Because of the law we passed that enabled the Minister of Finance to retain some portions of the money, what they did is that the road fund levy, the amount that went into the fund, they kept that money. And you can check, Minister, the record is here. Annual report on the management of the energy sector levies and accounts for the year 2018, submitted to Parliament by Ken Oforiatta, Minister for Finance. We've debated this matter here. We have debated this matter here. Honorable Kwame Agboja has raised this matter right in this chamber. And even at committee level, we advise you that exempt them from the capping and realignment so that you can give their money to them. Honorable Minister, I'll beg you, kindly look at the records. Mr. Speaker, as if that is not enough, if you look at what you can achieve, because in all this, if your landlord gets money or your family head gets money, you must be able to point to something. At least we built a rich hospital. Did we not?
We did.
We built the whole airport. Did we not?
We did.
We built the KJTR market. Did we not?
We did.
We built the Kotoka airport. Did we not?
We did.
We built the Tamale airport. Did we not?
We did.
We built the circle interchange. Did we not?
We did.
What has President Akufo-Addo done in the first 4 years of his tenure? Right, Honorable Speaker, the only thing he can boast of is a limping free SHS with traffic light of blue, green, yellow, red, and whatever you want to call it, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a president who has told us that the Zongo Development Fund has done so well, unprecedented, that he has decided to abolish that ministry. That the Special Development Ministry has done unprecedented work in the history of this country. So the only way to thank them is to abolish that ministry. Mr. Speaker, what kind of Kokua Nancy story is this? Mr. Speaker, this cannot stand the test of time. But apart from those that I've mentioned, go to the critical sectors of the economy. Because when you spend, it must reflect in the critical sectors of the economy. One key critical sector, Mr. Speaker, is the construction sector. Under President Mahama 2016, 8.4% growth. Under Akufo-Addo 2019, pre-COVID, negative 4.4% growth. 1D1F, despite all the issue about 1D1F. President Mahama, 7.9. President Akufo-Addo, 6.3. The currency, the one that you say you've done very well. 2016, the currency depreciated at 9.6. 2019, your best year, the currency depreciated at 12.9%. The financial sector, we were growing it at 8%. Under you, 2019, it is 1.8%. Private sector growth, 14% to 12%. Access to electricity, we took it from 54% to 83%. President Akufo-Addo took it from 83 to 85%. So every year, 0.5% growth. That is his record. Mr. Speaker, in all this, after mismanaging the economy, dissipating our public funds, he has come again with this budget. With this budget, to increase NHIL levy from 2.5 to 3.5. Increase VAT from 3 to 4%. What he calls a sanitation levy. 10% on diesel, 10% on petrol, another 20% on diesel, another 20% on petrol, and then he's going to the financial sector to tax them 5%, profit before tax. Mr. Speaker, let me serve notice that these taxes, as far as the minority is concerned, we would not be part of this illegitimate, illegal, and callous taxes from the people of Ghana. We would not be part of that. COVID is still with us. In December, you were boasting that you are giving them freebies. What has changed between December and now? Is COVID over? Why do you want to impoverish the ordinary Ghanaian? My final one, because of time, Mr. Speaker. The minister says that he has spent 12.5 billion on capacity charges. This is the 2020 media review budget. And I refer to paragraph 13, page 2. This is the media. We have spent in excess of 4.7 billion in 3.5 years. So the minister says that he has spent 4.7 billion paying for capacity charges in 3.5 years. Then in 6 months, he wants to tell us that he's paid 7.2 billion in 6 months. Let's look at this is the budget. I have come through the appendices. I've come through the budget. This 7.2 billion cannot be found in this budget. But Mr. Speaker, if you want to catch a thief, and excuse my language, there's a very clever
Honourable member, I have 1 more minute.
Mr. Speaker, we told the minister, the so-called excess capacity that you are talking about, give us the breakdown. Mr. Speaker, this is a public document. This is supposed to be the breakdown for that capacity charge. Mr. Speaker, number 2 on the list is Litasco, 500 million. They supplied fuel for the plants to run and to sell fuel power to ECG. If your plant is idle, your car is parked, you are not moving it, do you burn fuel, Mr. Speaker? No. Mr. Speaker, Stratcon Energy, they were paid 633 million for fuel supply. Mr. Speaker, GNPC, they were paid 86 million refund for heavy fuel oil. I therefore wish to put on record that these sole capacity charges is a figment of the imagination of the current administration, and it cannot stand the test of time. Mr. Speaker, with these words, I want to thank you and wish you well. God bless you. Thank you very much.